Howdy, folks! Happy Friday! Thank God it's Friday. It's one of those days where we'll probably be like doing the show and like looking askance at the TV or the monitor on the other side because the World Junior Gold Medal game is going on, and let's just say this podcast, Buzzcast, webcast would be X-rated had we gone live about a minute and a half later because I was thinking, just hold on, U.S., and don't give up the power play goal with the last 10 seconds of the period to give Sweden life and mother effers.
I told Mike there before it even happened. There we go.
Well, yeah, Mike, I'm watching it on my TV or on my.
No, but it's not even that. I knew they were going to get a goal here because I just knew Sweden was not going down like that.
No, but we can always hope. Anyway, let's start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Ross.
So. I know because I'm wearing a Jets hat, people think I'm going to talk about that award that Aaron Rodgers got. I'm not going to talk about it. It's idiotic. What I am going to talk about is Starsky and Hutch because David Soul died, and I was a huge Starsky and Hutch guy. I never missed a show. I mean, Huggy Bear was the best pimp on television.
Antonio Vargas.
Yeah. And then his kid played for the Raiders, right? I mean, I'll tell you, I really liked the show. It was a cool show. The way that I think it was Starsky used to slide across the hood, right, to get into his.
No, that was T.J. Hooker.
No. I think he did it too a few times. But what did they have? Like a Gran Torino? Was that
a Ford Torino? A Ford
Torino. Yeah, that was a cool car. Even though I would never buy a Ford, but anyhow, back then I may have because I was,
fix or repair daily.
Yeah, but
first on race day.
Yeah, but it was just it was a good era show. Like it was just. Yes. And then it's funny because. Like, I don't even remember the song, but David Soul had a hit.
Oh, yeah.
He had a hit song.
Yeah. He joins the like Jack Wagner and Rick Springfield, the TV stars that actually had like hits.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she
breaks
the wind.
Yeah, it made me sad. But then you realize you're getting old because you look and see how old the guy was, and he's 80. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that because I messaged a friend of mine who, yes, I have friends, folks. I messaged a friend of mine and told him David Soul passed away. And the first thing he said was, and of course, you and I, or he and I would know this reference. He said, Officer Davis. And what that is he was one of the cops that was a rogue cop in one of the Dirty Harry movies in Magnum Force.
Yeah.
So it was him, Robert Urich, who was the star of Vegas.
Yeah.
Tim Matheson, who was on The West Wing and Animal House. Yeah. So and then the fourth actor who was not extremely prominent, but they were the young cops who were vigilantes who were killing all the and Hal Holbrook was the and he lived. I don't know if I think he's dead, but he was he lived to like 96 years old.
There you go. Dan B says the song was "Don't Give Up on Me, Baby." And
there you go.
It'll be in my head now.
Yeah.
It'll be in my head.
Great. All right. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Friday, January 5th, 2024.
I'm Pete Tessier coming at you from Winnipeg. Good to be here.
Russ Cohen, Sportsology.
And NHLDraftBows.com. And I'm Michael Agello doing the plugs for us. And this is the Hockey Buzz
coming out soon. Yeah.
And this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, let's start with this because Peter wanted to talk about it and I wanted to talk about it more because sort of more has come out. But we did the show on Wednesday, and at that point, we had mentioned the Ryan Hartman incident with Cole Perfetti. It sort of gained more attention after I think it was second intermission of the Toronto-Anaheim game when Jamal Mayers, who was one of the our first period intermission, when Jamal Mayers, former NHLer, was on a panel with Jennifer Botterill, and they talked about what happened, why it happened, and should it have happened. And it was an interesting conversation, but sort of the narrative of all this, Peter, gained momentum when we found out that Perfetti was mic'd and that Hartman essentially admitted, or now he's in an article in The Athletic, he said he did not admit it, that he said, oh, he was sort of like a double negative, saying, oh yeah, like but it sounds like he did admit that it was an act of retribution on Perfetti for what happened with Kirill Kaprizov and Brendan Dillon. Well, give me your thoughts on the whole situation, and we'll go more on it.
The story here is not so much about Hartman, Perfetti, Kaprizov, Dillon, Stanley, Lowry, the whole group that started this thing with the actions and debating that.
Right. And
the story here isn't necessarily about. There's a side story with Botterill and Mayers, and I can't even pronounce his last name. Costantino.
Sam Constantino. Yeah.
Constantino. Okay.
He's an Italian, so there you
go. Yeah. Is the guy wears facial hair? Get a razor, Sam. The issue here is that the Wild and Hartman knew in advance, per the agreement, that Perfetti was mic'd up.
Right.
That has to be disclosed. And then they have to give permission. So that's part of the union deal. And that's thanks to Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press. The other part in all of this whole thing is Mike Russo of The Athletic has now become part of the story.
Yeah.
He has made himself part of the
problem. I agree with that. And you're not supposed
to. And that is, come on now.
Yeah.
Tell me and I tweeted this, tell me you're slowly slipping into old man yells at clouds territory without telling me. And you know what, Russ, you've been in the business and around long enough to know that's the side you don't slide into.
It really is. I mean, there have been opportunities for me to sort of be in that position, and I stay away from it. Because I know it's not right. It's not. I'm not there to do that. That's not my function.
Exactly. And I don't have a horse. Well, I mean, I have a horse in the race, but I mean, I don't have a platform that I really go on and write about this stuff. That might change in the future. Mm-hmm. But the issue here is, how do you report about things when you're being led to an agenda? And that's my problem with Russo, because he's contradicting himself. He literally put out a tweet having said he talked to Kaprizov as he's recovering, and the guy said he harbors no ill will about the thing. It was a hockey play. And then he's saying something totally different, and he's defending Hartman. Mm-hmm. And so, you can defend something, as Myers and Costantino did, but he's doing more than that. He's trying to be the voice of the team and their perspective. And that's where I have a bit of a challenge at. Now, to the whole Botterill thing.
Well, let me just touch. Let me touch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Let me just touch on that, and Russ, if you want to touch on it too, because, all right, everybody knows where I came from in terms of this business. I'm a fan first and foremost. Then I was a caller to Toronto radio. I didn't make any, try to make any kind of illusions that I was pro Toronto and a Toronto fan. But once I became a writer for Hockey Buzz, and once I became a member of the Professional Hockey Writers Association, I had to put the fan part of me to the side, at least in terms of what I expressed in my writing. Now, I can still be a fan, but I can't be just a pom-pom waver in the press box or when I write. And I'm not saying Mike Russo is doing that, but honestly, there definitely is a leaning here. And, he may straighten it out.
That's the whole thing. I mean, right. That's like, he's a great writer.
He's a great writer, and I respect him.
The problem is, you have to be careful, because that's the team you're covering, and you don't want it to look that way. And even if he didn't want it to be that way, that's how people are perceiving it.
And apparently,
that's the issue.
Apparently, he took some abuse on social media, and he told a Winnipeg fan to go F off. And I'm
and the writer, and I forget the guy's name, who wrote the article about it,
McIntyre.
Right.
Mike McIntyre.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but I think he's right. If you do something like that, whatever outlet you work for, you're putting yourself at risk now.
Now, let's talk about the Botterill thing because, you know, I know her. I actually met her when she was doing a game in Buffalo last week. I really like her commentary on Hockey Night in Canada. I think she does a great job. I disagree with her point of view. I actually side more on the whole Jamal Mayers thing because honestly, in this game, and I told Russ this, in this game, how do you protect your stars? Okay, because your stars are going to get targeted. Now, it may not have been purposeful that Dylan was trying to break Kaprizov's ribs. I don't think he was trying to do that, but it's not the end result. It's what the player does and what the player is trying to do.
Okay.
Now, you go first and then I'll go back.
Okay, let's go back and forth. I liked what Botterill said, and I like the way she said it. And I think Jamal Mayers managed to nearly hit 1,000 games in his career, finishing, I think, in 2012.
Yep.
If Jamal Mayers is trying to finish his career in 2024 and had done that run, he didn't sniff 912 games in the NHL that is today. He's gone. Jamal Mayers talks about, in my opinion, a declining role of the code and the unwritten sort of policing. Here's what happened. There were 2 fights since Kaprizov got injured. What more is anyone supposed to do? Well, according to Ryan Hartman and the Wild and Russo, it's an eye for an eye.
The bill hasn't been paid.
The bill hasn't been paid.
Right.
So then if that's the case, who decides the bill? Like you can't just decide, well, this is what happens. And this is what people are trying to get away from, is to say the game is better when you've got the best players in it. What happened? Like, Dylan didn't try to take Kaprizov out. That cross-checking thing happens hundreds of times a game between teams.
Right.
If it is such a nasty play, how come we aren't dealing with it in the rules and getting rid of it and taking it out?
And it wasn't even penalized. It wasn't even penalized.
It wasn't even penalized. Kaprizov got up and he gave one back to Dylan right across the leg.
Right. So I mean,
but he's injured. So that means in this policing world, well, there's a tab. You owe us. So who's deciding where the balance is in this? And that's the point, that it's an outdated methodology. It's an outdated idea. And that's what Botterill was getting at.
Right.
Cole-Perfetti wasn't in a puck battle with Hartman.
No.
And let's remember, Hartman has a good rap sheet.
Yep.
This isn't this guy, like, if you bring him, if he has a rap sheet like that, and you bring him into court and you want his testimony, yeah, you need to bring in some corroborating witnesses, sir. Your testimony is suspect and not believable because your actions speak otherwise.
All right, so a few things. I think part of what Jennifer Botterill said was right, but also part of it is like, hey, if your kid gets into the NHL, your kid signs on for this.
Right.
So, there is that. Pete, as much as I would like to agree with you, I don't think the code is declining. I think it's always going to be there. And I think other players would have done what Hartman did too. Not saying it on mic, but just doing it.
But
I don't blame Perfetti in any way, shape, or form either, because I get where he was coming from in this whole thing too. But in the end, there's a lot of players that would do what Hartman did, and there's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing other than whatever little policing the NHL tries to do with it.
The code is not declining. Fighting is declining. How you do it is declining.
Right.
But it's not like somebody was going to drop the gloves and try to beat the crap out. Well, I mean, Dylan did get into a fight, correct?
No, he did.
Yeah, okay.
He answered the bell.
So
then Maroon, what's his face? Was it Maroon? No, who was it? Who went with Lowry at the start of the second game?
It was I think it was Maroon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but this is the thing. And Mayer said, now I don't know if I agree with this. Mayer said, well, if Hartman had done that to Scheifele or Ehlers, a star player on the Jets, then it would have been an eye for an eye. But what's the intent here? Is the intent that we're going to injure Scheifele or Ehlers, and then the thing is even?
You're going to take
that's the point.
That's what you're going to do.
You're going to take a piece of flesh. So if you want a game that does that, what are you letting people see? So, like the thing with the Wild is, and this is what Russo stoked. Well, it's 2 times in a row that Kaprizov's been injured on trips into Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. So you're suggesting, like, are you saying there's some sort of targeted thing on him? Star players get targeted all the time.
Yeah. No, but what they are saying is, if Hartman didn't do it then, he took the license plate down, and he was going to do it at some point. And it might have been next year when they played. So it's going to happen.
Now, okay, I'll give you an instance that I know about for sure. What happened and the end result. I mean, everybody remembers, the Leafs Kings 1993 series. I try to forget it, but game 1 of that series, the Wendell Clark came to the defense of Doug Gilmour after Marty McSorley hit him at center ice in the 3rd period late in the game. Now, I've heard after the fact, I have to watch that game over again, but they're saying Clark was going at Gretzky like crazy, hitting him, harassing him, and that McSorley basically went past the Leaf bench and said, if you keep that up, I'm going to get Gilmour. And then he got Gilmour, and then Clark fought him. And then at that point, after that, there was not a moratorium on them, but it was understood. Now, like I said, I have to watch whether Clark was going at Gretzky. I would remember that because, Wendell Clark was my favorite player, and obviously my feelings on Wayne Gretzky. The following year, Gino Ojic was going at Doug Gilmour in the Canucks Leaf series.
Right.
Wendell Clark went to the Canucks bench and pointed at Pavel Bure and said, if he keeps going at Gilmour, that guy's dead. And then it stopped. So there is a part of the game, and that was 30 years ago.
It still exists.
It still exists.
You just got behind the curtain on this beat, and we all did. That's what it really is.
Well, and that's fine. But now that the curtains are open, it opens up more questions. It opens up more scrutiny.
Now that the curtains open,
now it has to be dealt with.
Something more about it.
But what do you want happening? Do you want another Bertuzzi Moore incident? Do you want things to turn so ugly because we turn a blind eye to this and say, well, it's just a one-off? And then it's a slow decline. And the point here is people say it's policing. Do NHL players really police each other all that well? Does it actually work?
They think they do.
Yeah. They think they do. I think if you really dove into it, statistically, it doesn't work. Now, here's the other part that no one really talks about this too. It's a tight game at that point. The Wild need wins. Hartman literally decided he would take a risk that would potentially further the chances of his team losing 2 games back to back. He decided he would take a risk and take a risk of getting a penalty, maybe a double minor, maybe a major. If it didn't, he just happened to hit him really well. And I'm not picking on Hartman for his skills in the faceoff dot. And we know the officials tend to let it be a scrum.
Yeah, they do that
because
all the time.
it's a puck protection. It's a puck battle.
Right.
But if they do it right in front and it is nasty and obvious, and he timed it well, I'll give him credit. Like, the strategy played out. But what are you really trying to do here? You're taking a massive risk when you actually need to be doing something else that forwards your team. So the only upside to this for Hartman is he either doesn't get caught or he takes another player out.
Yeah, but you know what? There's other coaches in this league besides the obvious ones that, even though you want to win the game, would still want their players to do what happened in that game. They would. Because again, it's about defending your teammates. It's about all that stuff. And sometimes when you do that, Pete, the winning goes out the window, because then after you look at all the penalties that are assessed, sometimes you might come out on the losing side of it. So
yeah, and I'll say this: tell me one hockey fan that is turning off the TV. By the way, the U.S. just took a 4-2 lead early in the third on Sweden.
Yeah.
Who is it that scored, Russ? One of the defensemen. Is it?
Yeah.
Biam or Billum? How do you pronounce his
name?
Shi
Buyum.
Buyum. Thank you.
Yeah, Shi Buyum. His brother is a prospect of, now I want to say Colorado. I think maybe Colorado drafted him last year. Shi Buyum. So they're both going to be in the NHL someday.
So you tell me what real hockey fan would turn.
Well,
off.
let's not use terms like real hockey fan.
No.
There's people, but there's people who are just tired of it.
Well, no. I was going to say, what hockey fan would turn off a series between Winnipeg and Minnesota right now? I would sign up to watch that series every
basically the next game between these two teams is February 20th, and people are getting all excited about it because they want to see some fireworks. And again, you want to see fireworks up until it's all fun and games, as long as your stars aren't lost. Well, now you have Minnesota, who, remember when we sat there and said they're the ones who are going to turn it around, and not looking like such a great pick right now. And you've got Winnipeg, who's third in the league. What's it to Winnipeg right now? They need to go into that game, win the game without coming out of collateral damage. The teams are going in different directions.
Peter, I was talking. We mentioned on Wednesday. I'm like, Winnipeg is doing this without Kyle Connor. They're doing it without their best scorer.
Yeah. Connor just skated. He's skating right now. He's coming back soon.
That'll help him.
Yeah, it's good. And, so there's an example of a play that didn't get supplemental discipline. It was a knee-on-knee hit.
Right.
So I tweeted out, I took the video clip of Mayers and Constantino and Botterill, and I tweeted out and I said, there's two people in this clip who shouldn't provide analysis of hockey. Neither of them are female. And I knew what I was doing, and because I knew it was going to trigger everything, and it didn't disappoint. And you have all this legacy stuff, but this is the part that really bugs me about it. For Jen Botterill, is the amount of people who just say she's not qualified.
She's a hockey player.
Or she's qualified.
She's a hockey player. Of course she's qualified.
It was nuts, the arguments you got back. She's going to go in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yes.
She's incredibly smart. She's a 3-time champion, Olympic champion. Like, what does she have to do to prove things?
Yeah.
Nothing. And that's the point that really bothered me about that, is that there's an equality thing. And if Mayers and Constantino can say something and have their point of view, Jen Botterill is just as qualified to have a disputing view. About it. And you know what? And it's great theater for Sportsnet. So whether the producers are in their ears saying, Jen, push back on this and do that, she did it well. She got everyone talking about it.
Right.
And that's fantastic.
Peter, I don't particularly agree with her, her opinion, but she's more than qualified to give it because she's been on the ice in a championship scenario. Mm-hmm. I mean, my God.
She's played, she's coached, she watches what we do. Like, come on.
She's friggin' smart. So, that's now I'll just bring this up because we talked about this and then we'll get on to, I want to talk about the All-Star game, which I'm sure everybody knows my opinion on that load of crap. But the whole Nick Cousins thing. Now, okay, Nick Cousins and Gabranson, Cousins sewers Gabranson. Gabranson goes at Cousins and beats the crap out of him. And I think they're the code of the league. Gabranson got back at the guy who got him, and Gabranson, everybody thought he was going to get suspended for 4 or 5 games. He got suspended for 1. Okay, so then a few weeks later, Cousins hits Valimaki while he's down on the ice. Zucker responds and slams Cousins. who doesn't really miss any time in the game. And because it's an act of retribution, Zucker gets 3 games. So it was okay for Gabranson to do it, but it wasn't okay for Zucker to do it. Why? Because Zucker, if Valimaki had done it, would have been a 1-game suspension instead of a 3-game suspension. I mean, I don't get that. I don't get where the logic is there.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Yeah, there is no logic. And, one of the comments that set out, well, that's why you have a guy like Peros heading up the Department of Player Safety making decisions. And I'm like, where do you begin with that? Like, how's that worked out over time? Not very well. There's no consistency. There's no understanding. It's all cloak and dagger, as Russ said, behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. And you're living in a day and age where the NHL lags on injury disclosures, transparency, and so much fun. And you're now trying to get people to bet on this stuff, and you're going to let this garbage go on. You're going to neuter another revenue stream because people don't trust you're policing the game well within your own powers.
And they don't and also, the NFL, I know this is a pet peeve of mine. The NFL, I mean, they've changed their reporting in terms of injuries, but it's still specific, wrist,
light years.
Yes. Whereas the NHL, and if you don't think, I know hockey, people don't bet on hockey as much as they bet on football. It's like, it's a multi-billion-dollar business when it comes to football, and it's probably in the millions.
But there's a reason.
There's a reason.
And make informed bets.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like in the NHL, when it comes to the playoffs, you're going to get lower body. Oh, he might be back for game 3. And then he's out for the, he actually had a torn AC, like Zach Hyman. Okay. And when he was with Toronto, he hurt his knee, but he's going to be back for game 7. And then he doesn't play. And then you find out after the game, he had a torn ACL and he was never going to play. You can't do that when it comes to a sort of a gambling scenario, but they keep doing it.
So where this all leads to is we're living in a much greater era, or an era with much greater ability to disclose, be transparent. And once you start deciding you're going to bring in gambling and you want people to draw in things, to get people to want to believe in your sport, you have to do better for that bigger purpose.
Well, I'm going to argue with you on this, Pete, not because you're not right, because the NHL just signed a new deal with another gambling company. They don't seem to care about it. They're not forcing them to do anything. They're not forcing them to change.
Gambling companies can't make people gamble. Sure. You've got to make
giving away their money in hopes that they do. So
and again, it's part of the reason why the NHL lags a little bit. And you hear about it. And the people in the building aren't the problem. It's getting more people to come in is the problem. So if the NHL is so sure of everything, why is it not growing? Yeah. And this is one of many issues that they need to tackle. Anyways, beaten.
Yes. Now, the NHL announced 32 names yesterday for the All-Star game. I don't believe, apparently the teams had some input into this, but in the end, I think the league made the decisions. I know in Toronto, everybody thought Nylander was going to get selected over Matthews. And I'm like, okay, Matthews is leading the NHL in goals. I know Nylander's 5th in the league, and Nylander will probably make it as one of the extra players, but it was going to be Matthews. It was always going to be Matthews.
Yeah, because they wanted Matthews and McDavid there, a guy who plays for Toronto, a guy from Toronto.
Right, exactly. But they're the captains of the teams. Okay.
Right.
But
that was a guarantee.
Right. It was, I mean, if Matthews was having an okay year and Nylander was 5th in the league in scoring, then they might have chosen Nylander. But Matthews is leading the league. He's a leading candidate for the Rocket Richard. But already, Russ, it's come out. Well, and I'm not saying this is not a valid issue for Artemi Panarin. His wife or girlfriend is the due date for their first child is right at the All-Star game, and he went on social media and he put a video out and he let the league know, please don't choose me because this is what's going on. I don't think he should be penalized the game for that. I don't know if they're going to or not, because remember, if they miss the All-Star game, they have to sit out a game. Now, Ovechkin let the Capitals know way in advance, I need to rest up for the second half, so I don't want to go. Well, Alex, honestly, I've been no bigger supporter of Ovechkin in terms of his pursuit of Gretzky, but I think you got enough rest in the summer when you didn't work out, because that's all.
How could he make the All-Star team? He's got 8 goals. Come on.
He's Alex Ovechkin, Russ.
Well, but then you're not really. Then you're just doing it on reputation, and that's not right either. But the thing is, like, I understood, like, people said, well, how did Jake Ottinger make it? And it's like, well, they looked at goalies and they said, well, if Ottinger doesn't make it, who's going to make it from Dallas? And honestly, nobody else is probably worthy of making it from Dallas. So Ottinger has to be the guy. Like, there's going to be decisions like that in an All-Star game. It's never going to be truly on merit. But you can't put someone like Ovechkin in just because they're Alex Ovechkin. I mean, after a while, that gets to be ridiculous.
Look, we're talking, right before this about pulling back the curtain and understanding the code and fixing player safety. There's only one other task bigger than that, and that's fixing the NHL All-Star game. Just let it go.
All right, so now let's get into the write-in vote of Shane Pinto, because now that's become a thing.
Oh, this is the John Scott 2.0 here.
And again, he's never going to be the guy. If you put in a vote for Shane Pinto, you've wasted your time. Now, if you want to just have it trend on Twitter and laugh about it.
Can I place a bet on FanDuel whether he makes it or not?
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
But what is that going to do? It's like, I don't know.
Well, no, but see.
Why can't it just be fun?
Well, okay. Because the All-Star game is not fun.
It is fun, Mike.
Oh, bullcrap. See, this is the thing. Very few times will I say the NFL has done something right. But the thing that they did right was eliminate the Pro Bowl.
Oh, now, sure. Touch football is great. Yeah, that's fantastic.
It sucks. The whole thing.
No, but why do you watch touch football when they do it?
No,
but at least people will watch guys skating.
But you know what? They made it fun. It's interactive. The people can interact with the fans. They go to Hawaii or wherever.
No, it's touch football. It's flag football.
I'm not. I'm sorry. This All-Star game is friggin'. It's shinny. I don't care if you bet a million.
Your dream will come true next year when there is no All-Star game. So
yeah, but it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. It's crap. It's
okay. Would you rather have the NHL put effort into an All-Star game, or would you rather have them try and do an in-season tournament?
No, I want the All-Star game over the in-season tournament for a bunch of reasons.
I don't
know what I want. I'm just asking the question.
Peter, I don't like either. I mean, this is and so of course I'm going to be negative on both, because an in-season tournament, it's like, okay, it's like the Olympics. Like, I want the Olympics. I want the best on best in the Olympics. They should move the hockey Olympics to the summer, because it interrupts the season. You have this.
Can't move it to the summer.
Bull crap!
Like, come on.
Bull crap! You can't
move it to the summer. But I want to ask,
why couldn't they do, to your point, Mike? Why couldn't they do an international tournament throughout the season?
No. This should not.
So
all they wanted to do is hand LeBron James a trophy. That's why they had it.
Oh,
look, now the Lakers actually.
I'm thinking more like how
it's done. Are you talking about like how soccer does it when it comes to like the Federation Cup, or it comes to
or all the friendlies and the qualifying and stuff?
More like soccer, right?
Yeah, it's more like soccer.
Yeah,
like just to show you that I in the audience I have some humble pie. Like, it leads right back to the whole thing of, essentially, like, you can try all these ideas, but at the end of the day, hockey is a niche in the nature of the sport and how it operates within its physical parameters of it. And it's very difficult to change.
I think you know what it is.
Sometimes we have to also accept that there are limitations of sport. And I can spout off about changing the code, fixing this and fixing that. But at the end of the day, maybe it can't be fixed as much as I would hope, and I have to accept those limitations and say,
okay, so
I'm the old man yelling at clouds now.
Right. Let's say it like this. First thing is, I would have loved to have been in the room when Mike watched his first All-Star game as a kid and was thrilled to see and you could fill in the guy that was playing in the All-Star game with Mario Lemieux or whoever Mike was watching, and don't tell me you didn't like it at the beginning.
I'll tell you,
every kid likes it.
I'll tell you the only one that I liked. I think it was 1980 or 81 when Gordie Howe at the Olympia in Detroit. That was cool. After that, Russ, Wales versus Campbell. Who gives a good God?
I watched with Gretzky and Lemieux and all those guys. They just had ugly jerseys. That's all.
Shinny. But the thing is, Russ, back then it was actually a competitive game. Now these guys, they're all friends. They're all friendly with they're all part of the same. Some of them.
I get it. That's the way. That's the way of the world because these guys can't get hurt now. And they were clawing for any money they could get.
And putting up $1 million to a bunch of millionaires is a waste of friggin' time.
You could get them interested. But here's the bigger thing that I think you're missing the picture on. Okay. For one thing, if you want to grow the sport, the All-Star game is what helps grow the sport behind the scenes with businesses because businesses go to these games and they talk to the NHL and agents are at these games and GMs are at these games, and a lot of future deals and a lot of other things like that end up starting at the All-Star game through conversations. And you don't want to end that because they're all important to the sport.
If you want an All-Star, have the Winter Classic instead of the All-Star game, or have the All-Star game as the Winter Classic.
No, I've said that for years. That would be a tremendous event.
That would be fun. That would be fine. An outdoor game and have all the stars there and then have all at the same time. There you go. Beautiful.
Yeah.
But
anyway. Tremendous. I mean but they just don't want to mix them, and I get that. But I'm just saying there's other facets to the All-Star game besides what we see. Yeah. And it's the business opportunities that come out of that and partnerships and I think Peter understands that part.
No, and I get that. And I think, I think you're never going to get a game that relies on physical contact and extreme physical contact that has no value to anyone on the ice playing to be what people want to see. We have to, that is the base limitation. It can't get that way. And, all sorts of reasons for that. Even though some of the older ones may have been a little more competitive, you go back to the 80s, they were still goal scoring fest, but those days are gone. And the NHL probably needs to be way more creative to what you just said, Russ, is what do we package away from that event and make this some sort of celebration thing. Maybe it needs to be an outdoor game and make some incredible village fan experience thing, and it becomes the Disneyland of hockey.
That was just born out of the chat room from Leonard Forsberg. Remember, the Harlem Globetrotters, even though they were like a put together kind of made up team, they played the Wizards and they won all the time. Not the Wizards, the Generals, and they won all the time. They did play exhibition games against real teams and beat them.
Yeah,
they were great players on those teams. Yeah. Why not have the NHL All-Stars play, I don't know, the KHL All-Stars? They won't do it with the KHL, but maybe the SHL All-Stars. Like, that would be fun. I think then you might get a different atmosphere.
Yeah. It might be interesting, a whole host of things. And you know what the problem is? No one wants to live through the trial and error. They want it solved and come up with a solution. But this does, to your point, Russ, it requires trial and error. You've got to make something consistent that becomes valuable to the sponsors, the businesses, the people who are going to be there locally and buy tickets. I
was in on these discussions once, and I was getting asked, what do I think about the All-Star game? And I gave a lot of opinions, and I've heard a lot of things, and some of those things have happened in All-Star games that have worked out. This draft, as an example, I was at the original one in Ottawa, and it was okay. It was funny because Phil Kessel went last. That was the big joke. But other than that, nobody's going to remember that All-Star game because of the draft. And that's why they hadn't done it these years.
You know what might be really neat? Here's the idea to the NHL is, as you lead up to the draft of the players and stuff, why don't you do a draft lottery like you do for the actual entry draft, and make it live. So all like the players are sitting there watching this.
Because they don't like to get put on the spot. That's why.
No. But whoever the coaches are, whoever
I know
it is,
they don't want to do it either. They don't. They don't want to get put on the spot. Look.
Well, I mean, the Kessel thing is a perfect illustration of that. He was. I mean, he
got a car.
He got a car, but he was making $8 million a year. I think he can afford a friggin' car.
Yeah,
when
it's the embarrassment of it.
But here's an example, just to show you how much like coaches don't want that kind of stuff. Like last night at the Flyers game, John Tortorella played his 15th. It was in his 1500 game, right?
Yeah,
1500 game. They show him on camera. He's already scowling. He realized at some point, okay, I got to wave. But he was trying to hide behind some players. He waved a couple times, but he didn't want to be on camera. He didn't want any part of that.
Yeah, that's okay. So you find people who do want to be there, and that's part of like, and I think that's part of a little bit of the cultural differences. And I could go off on a rant on this one about the NHL, but there are other sports who have players who are much more, and coaches who are more willing to be in front of a camera, and maybe we need to exploit those in the NHL a little bit more for that purpose.
Yeah, John Cooper.
Yeah, and whatever players are there, right? Like, allow some personality to come out. But hey, that's a whole other issue. How come we're not talking about the Jets being third in the NHL?
Listen, we talked about it yesterday. I'm the only one on the panel that picked the Jets to make the playoffs, Pete. And I said yesterday or the day before, the last show, I said on the last show, I believe the Jets could make it to the conference finals and possibly be a cup team. Possibly.
Yeah. Okay, so I was dead wrong about where I thought this team was going in the offseason. Like way wrong.
Well, and the funny thing is, Peter, we were expecting them to be like Calgary in the sense they're going to be trading Hellebuck. They're going to be trading Scheifele. What can they get for these guys? And they got them signed. And unlike, Calgary, they're going to be trading Lindholm. They're going to be trading Tanev. They're going to be trading Hanifin because they won't sign there. And like I heard Elliot Friedman talking about, well, they're holding out hope that they can sign Tanev. They're not signing Tanev. I don't think Tanev wants to be there.
They're all going to go. Calgary's biding their time. They're trying to bank as many points as they can, and they'll see if they could possibly make the playoffs after these trades. But all these guys are going.
But isn't that the wrong way of doing this?
It's not. See, the thing is, if you want to say it's the wrong way, you got to blame Brad Treliving. It's not, like that's
he's not there anymore. So what is the problem in Calgary? Why don't they want to sign there?
Set it up because he could have done it a year before he left.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it all was riding.
I'm not gonna buy that because you have to have somebody who wants to stay there to be able to sign them.
So what made you believe that Hanifin wanted to stay there at any time?
Well, okay. They had a deal in place for him this year, but they were going to have to overpay him by a couple $1 million to stay there.
So why do they all want out?
Why? Again, Lindholm. They've been negotiating with him for 2 years.
Right.
He's not staying.
Right. Well, okay, but
you had to have traded somebody last year, at least one of these guys. Now you got to trade all of them.
But you don't know whether that's ownership or whether that was Treliving. Treliving traded Matthew Tkachuk because
I don't know if it's ownership, but I do know if you're a GM, you got to walk into the owner's office and say, this team is going to be a problem next year for whoever takes over because these guys want to go and you're not letting me trade them. But I don't believe that that's the case.
The most encouraging
maybe on one player, maybe on two, not all of them.
The most encouraging thing I heard about the whole, of course, we can't have a show end without mentioning Nylander. But the whole Nylander situation is what Elliot Friedman reported on 32 Thoughts this morning, is that he thinks Nylander wants to stay in Toronto. He thinks that Toronto has upped their offer from what they offered in the summer. He thinks that the agent is on board or is at least advocating. But he's not sure of Michael Nylander, Russ, because Michael Nylander's either 4 legs on this table, and he doesn't know whether Michael Nylander will sign off on this, thinking that he can get more on the open market. And apparently, Elliott says he thinks that Nylander and the Leafs are gonna sign, but he says they want an answer before the deadline, because if they can't get him signed, there is no way he's gonna go down the Johnny Gaudreau road and let them string it out until the summer, and then they'll be left hanging.
No, he won't do that. No,
yeah. So either there's a deal done, or he's.
That's why I think there will be a deal done. It's just that Michael Nylander will squeeze every last dime out of the Leafs. The other thing I want to say,
to that point, go ahead, Russ.
One thing was about Calgary. The most shocking thing about Calgary, and this is how you know those guys all want to go. Blake Coleman's leading them in scoring. That's all you need to know.
Yeah,
and Elias Lindholm was the choice of the NHL as the All-Star, or maybe the choice of the Flames as the All-Star because they want to increase his value before the trade deadline. He's an All-Star, folks.
So, if the rumored number of whatever, I think the last one I saw about Nylander was around $11 million a year.
11.25.
Yeah.
This is the funny thing. 11.25 was the report that came out. Then, of course, Darren Dreger reported, well, it could be as high as 11.5. Oh, gee, I wonder who his source on that one is, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I believe what I hear from somebody like Elliott, who's as tied in as anybody, and he's basically saying the Leafs have upped their offer, but Nylander's got to give a little back here too, because I have hope that and the U.S. have just iced.
Yeah, it's fine too. That's
there. You go, folks.
Put a fork in Sweden.
Oh, it looks like, is that Gauthier? Yeah.
Yeah. They just.
He'll be the MVP.
Probably.
Oh, that's a goal.
That's
a nice goal.
You feel bad for the Swedish fans, though. I do.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I just wonder if Elias Anderson is anywhere and he's going to throw the silver medal into the crowd. It was Ryan Leonard.
Oh, it was Ryan Leonard. Oh, okay. Yeah. I saw the long hair.
That was a heck of an effort.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh my God. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, he's super strong. I mean, this kid was one of the strongest kids, if not the strongest, coming out of the draft. Oh, he did a kiss.
Oh, okay.
Kiss Sally. That was awesome.
Well, the cell. Okay, let's finish with this. Because we can talk about how the stuff on the ice anytime, and Nylander. Who knows when that's going to get. I just noticed this, and it's like, okay, in the Leafs game against Anaheim, John Tavares scores the tying goal, and he does the whole pump thing, whatever. And Matthews has been really his celebrations have gotten a little more inventive. In this game, I think it was Isaac Howard does like the thing with the hair where he's like swooping back, and now we've got Ryan Leonard blowing a kiss to the crowd. I mean, are we going down the road of the NFL? We're going to see team gyrations and stuff like that.
Okay, Mike, remember Billy White Shoes Johnson? He was doing it way back when. Of course. What's the difference?
Hey, a little personality, a little bit more of it, it's a good thing. And you know what? Remember when Ovechkin hit his whatever it was 60 goals in a season, I think, and he put his stick down. He was going like it was too hot, and his teammates kind of pulled him away a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can say about Alex Ovechkin. The fact that he wants to have fun is one of the more redeeming ones, and it's good, and we need to adopt that more. The problem with scoring goals in the NHL is by nature of doing it, you're making someone else look bad. It's not like a touchdown where a few things go through. It's akin to doing a bat flip when you get too much, right? You'll crank one out of the yard and you bat flip it, right? That's the problem with it, is that someone who's inevitably has failed when you've succeeded, and that's where the problem comes in.
Okay, Rutger McGroarty scores into the empty net, and he's blowing kisses, and the goalie Augustine is doing the Russell Crowe. Are you not entertained? I mean, holy moly!
I always want it to be the Swedish player who breaks the stick over the goal, over against the goal. I always wanted to be that guy and have the blade go flying. That's a great look. Because if you're mad, you might as well just destroy your stick. Why not?
Sure. Sure. And and whoever that player was just got booted from the game. So because they just showed some, whoever number 5, Salamanson, I think it is.
Oh, Salamanson,
yeah. So no, but I mean, just okay. I'm old school. Just okay. I know.
I do want to answer this. Sorry.
Well, we had
the reason they're like this against Sweden is because of what happened in the U18s. And so this group, there's 4 or 5 guys, the overagers, that wanted to exact revenge. And that's all they've been talking about since camp.
Okay.
So that's why they're really acting like this, because this was their one chance to beat them and to win gold in the World Juniors. That's it. They're going to age out. That's
right. But okay, we had the team with Solani shooting at the glove. We had the Ty Domi and Tiger Williams riding the stick. So we've had those celebrations, for a long time. I get it, but it just seems now it's getting more and more. And I don't know how to feel about it. Maybe I'm an old fogey, I guess.
No, Mike, I sort of agree with you, but I think it's just one of those cultural changes. We have to sort of find a way to adapt to and say, okay, we've got to change this up because it's part of the entertainment value. Like, people want goals. They want big things. 98% of the time, most players have a pretty good concept of when they should really take that celebration to the next level.
I'll tell you something right now. This game is going to get ugly in the last few minutes because Noah Ostlund, the Sabres draft pick, just took a run at somebody in a big slack. These teams don't.
Yeah, but they'll shake hands at the end.
But I'm saying that it's getting ugly.
No, but what I want to say is, like, we all think that this is like different, right? But the only reason we didn't take selfies when we were teenagers because it was hard to do with a camera. But there were people that did it. There were.
Yes.
You would have done it at 17. You don't think I would have taken a selfie as good as I looked? Of course I would.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Okay. On that hilarious.
You would have too.
I'm still good looking, so I can.
He would have done it up in Vancouver.
Yeah.
This is me at my lake house.
All right, we'll end it on that.
Up to it.
We'll end it on that hilarious note. For the lovely looking Russ Cohen, for Pete Tessier, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. USA.